But he just wanted me to watch. He said tomorrow's the big day, really. That's the regular city council meeting. And that's the one he wanted me to talk to. We could probably talk to him too. I told him, if you need me this week, just let me know. I'll do it. I was talking to the executive assistant, water director. He didn't tell me his actual title. The guy put me over to him. The main water director put me over to this other guy and just can't get a hold of me. Talk to him. His name's Chuck. And so I don't know his exact position, but I know it's right here.
Yeah. It's 1:31. This meeting is called to order of the Corpus Christi B Corporation. Ms. Huerta, will you call the roll?
President Alan Wilson.
Here.
Vice President Diana Summers.
Here.
Secretary Jesus Jimenez is absent. Mark LaRue.
Present.
Victoria Holland.
Present.
Johnny Filippello.
Here.
Vishnu Reddy is absent. Okay, we do have a quorum present to conduct meeting.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Huerta. Would anyone like to make public comment? Ms. Huerta, have you received any?
No, sir, we have not.
Okay, very good. Moving to the next item on the agenda, are there any, the minutes, are there any corrections to the minutes? I don't hear any. If there are none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve as presented.
Motion is made. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries. Let's see. Is there a financial report or not? No, okay.
No, there isn't.
Okay. Mr. Edmonds, Engineering Services Quarterly Report.
Good afternoon, Mr. President, board members. Jeff Edmonds, Director of Engineering Services. And for those of you that haven't had one of these quarterly reports, our job is execution of the city's capital improvements program, getting all the capital projects done. So when type A or B has a project that involves construction, it comes to our department to get the project designed, bid out, construction awarded, and take it through completion. So I'm going to go through the list of B-funded projects, and When we list the budget, I think we're going to add something next time. There's blended funding on some of those. So only part of that budget, for instance, on this one, Elizabeth Street from Santa Fe to Staples, which is currently under construction, $1.2 million is from the sales tax, and the remainder of the funding is from other sources.
Sir, I apologize. We are currently meeting for type A.
Oh, am I on the wrong one?
It,
We did it out of order.
oh, sorry. I have
We
it.
do that
I
sometimes.
have it opposite in my packet. I apologize.
No, it's B.
Okay, we'll get there a little bit later. Okay, this is under construction. The contractor was given notice to proceed back in September. There's an error on here. It says estimated completion March. The contract completion is really May, and it's a little bit difficult to say where they are on track with this because we've had the holidays and the cool weather, but they should be done in May, we hope. This next project, we're calling it Industrial Park Roadway Improvements. This is it is an industrial area. This is the old Rod Field base. This was the industrial part of the old Rod Field Navy base, and they sold this off individually to all the buildings in there. So this is all the old Navy-built roads, and the city annexed it sometime after that. And it's been a challenge getting these things fixed. So there was a project conceived and brought to Type B to adopt this project, and that was done sometime, I want to say 2023. And the leadership wanted to try and do one of these road projects as a design-build project. So this was a pilot project. We put this out, and we selected Mako Contracting, who also submitted the low-cost proposal on this, and that was awarded in November to City Council. So there should be some activity starting out there, I'm going to say in a couple of months. And the projected completion is January 2026. And this is for parts of Doberman Street, Pyrenees Street, Dalmatian Drive, and Bay Drive. This next one is...
I'm so sorry, I have a quick question. The budget is substantially more in the amount of the current project status. Is that current project status, the way it reads is, that was the bid?
Yeah, it was done as a design build, but that's the contract value is the total amount. Now, that's where we need to add some more information for you guys. So, of course, there's underground utilities in there that need to be updated as part of the construction, and that's funded with revenue bonds. The Type B part of this is $4.15 million, basically. So there's some general obligation bonds to supplement that, and revenue bonds for utility work in there.
So there's not going to be any clawback of any of the difference between the projected design build contract and the budget? Because we would have approved the budget for the project based on the 9.2, correct?
Right. So currently the contract amount is lower than what's in the budget. Now we're going to have to figure out how we allocate that between the different funding sources, but there'll be savings that'll flow back to those funding sources when the project's completed.
Okay. It won't just be applied on a percentage of funding?
No, what we usually do on these, for example, the most common ones where we do this are road bond projects. And they're historically, you've got the surface improvements that are paid for with the GO bond part of it. And then you've got potable water, which comes from the water fund, wastewater comes from wastewater, and stormwater came from stormwater. Now on bond 24, we put the stormwater in with the GO bond part of that because that funds not really in a position to take on any more debt. But what we do on that, based on the actual bids, when they come in, we allocate those costs based on the contractor's bid price. So if there's savings in one of those areas, it goes into that funding source.
Okay, so it'll be based on where the savings were found?
Correct.
Right, the original budget. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and this next one is Huntwick Avenue, which is one that was added last year. We've got design complete on that, and that's the road going into HEB off of Staples, if you're familiar with it. There's a part that is maintained by the city. It's actually a city street. That's the asphalt part. It's in real bad shape. And then you hit concrete, which is actually on HEB site. And this is going to replace that asphalt part. It's going to be concrete, and that should be starting construction sometime in May, we're estimating. We should be advertising for bids next month. Okay, the Williams Drive project. This one is, if you go east of Rod Field, there is no Williams Drive there. It's the big storm drainage ditch, and half of Williams Drive prior to that used to be a drainage way, and now it's box culverts. So to extend Williams Drive through here, you've got to deal with the drainage and the road. So there is some funding that has been allocated to this. There's a total of 4.76 million shown in the CIP. Most of that is sales tax. There was some utility money in there too, 432,000. But to do this project from one end to the other, you're talking $45 million plus. So we have procured a designer. They've looked at some different options on this, and we've been working with private developers on this and coming up with a phasing plan and or cost-sharing model. But this is sort of in the planning and designing phase, and the total funding is still in TBD.
This road, will it just affect that vacant land in front of it? It doesn't look like it has any access to the subdivision behind it.
No. No, ma'am.
So it's really just...
And they've got fences that are right on the property line, and they all back up to the drainage right away there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Bear Lane, SPID to Joe, I don't know if I can say it right, Mirror Road. This is a project that was considered for inclusion on Bond 24, and it was thought that this kind of fit the criteria for streets that qualify for Type B. So there was an item that came to Type B last year to flip this off the bond onto Type B. So the current budget on that is $3.9 million, which we could easily get the design and for maybe half or less of that. And the construction dollars are still TBD on that.
I'm sorry, so the 3.9 million, that includes just the design work?
That's not enough to get you through to construction. So this was kind of
Because I
upfront
think,
cost.
sorry, go ahead. When we talked about this in the past, I thought it was around $9 million. Is that correct? Do you remember that?
Well, isn't this the one where we were going to be presenting something as part of the RTA for some federal funding?
Mm-hmm.
I've heard some
so.
discussion about approaching them. I don't know if there's anything that's been in concrete about that. We've also been having some discussions about the cross-section and limits of improvement, because you've got a lot of industrial development up towards SPID, but, you know, after you get past the bridge over towards the airport, there's not much development out there. But anyway, we've got upfront money on this, and it won't need everything we've got, but we don't have enough left over to get to construction. So there will have to be some additional funding identified to actually execute the construction of the project.
My recollection, Mr. Zanoni, was that there was some federal funding or reimbursement that would really leverage the money we're spending here.
Yeah, you're correct. So both you and Ms. LaRue are saying what is accurate, which is that we funded the design with the understanding that RTA would help to leverage construction dollars through the federal government or through their own resources. So that is we don't have any more information beyond that right now. No awards have been made, but they're going to pursue federal funding or other sources to help in the construction costs. Yep.
Okay, thanks.
And that concludes my presentation on the Type B projects.
Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Edmonds?
I've asked them all. I've asked all mine.
Okay, thank you very much. Who will present on the Austin's Home to Texas program? Arturo.
Good afternoon, everybody. Arturo Marquez, Director of Economic Development here at the City of Corpus Christi. And I'm here to present to you guys a pretty exciting item. This is a Home to Texas program. Well, not sponsored yet, but this is a partnership between UT Austin and hopefully the City of Corpus Christi. Now, I just want to remind everybody that the board does fund already internship programs, and those programs are meant to keep what's already here as far as the students that go to the local college, the local university. However, the way that this differs is that the students that are graduating from high school from Corpus Christi that are leaving to UT Austin specifically, I'll mention a little bit more about that as I go through the presentation, have the opportunity to come back for the summer and do a 9-week paid internship. So this is what we're going to be talking about, essentially just amplifying the efforts to make sure that Corpus Christi keeps their own, and if they do leave for college, that we have a program set up so that they have an opportunity to come back. So. The Home to Texas program, again, is a program initiated by the University of Texas at Austin, and it is, as I mentioned, a 9-week internship program held through the summer. And it works in conjunction with the community, with obviously private enterprises, also nonprofits, if that's the case, and of course the students that are graduating from Corpus Christi, any of the high schools here, and that are currently enrolled in UT Austin. They get a lot of benefits from professional development, teamwork and research, and community engagement. So the reason why Corpus Christi should consider participating is, of course, we get a chance to retain our talent. You know, some of these kids choose to go to a college outside of Corpus Christi, but this program, what it does is it gives them an opportunity to come back and essentially learn a lot more about the community that they had otherwise not been exposed to. Through this partnership, what they part of the things that they have to do in the internship is actually interview local leaders, whether that's elected officials, whether that's CEOs, presidents, business owners, or even people that are very committed to the community. They get a chance to interview them and essentially learn more about their community that they had not otherwise known about. The employers, they benefit with, of course, a youth of new ideas. Of course, if they have some projects that are being held back that they just need assistance or additional hands, they can use these students to amplify or, of course, carry out their projects or programs. This is just a quick application process. The main point today is to gauge your guys' interest. The application for this is due tomorrow. So if you guys, choose to pursue this, then we will submit the application. We will bring this back for a later discussion. I'll also go into that one in a little bit, just for the budget approval. But essentially, we just need, again, to kind of gauge your interest if this is something that the board wants to pursue. Once we do that, we we submit the application for the community. We do outreach to try to recruit businesses that are interested in hosting these students. And on UT side, they will open up applications. So these applications are open and available to anybody that, again, graduated high school in Corpus Christi, is currently attending UT Austin, and they send out an email to them letting them know, are you interested in participating in this in this internship for the summer of 2025. There is an application process for the students. Not everybody gets admitted into the program. There is an actual interview process and a selection process on UT side. And by the time that they're completed with that, then we just get a list of the students that were admitted. And of course, like I said, on our side, we have the businesses ready to go to pair them up. So as I mentioned, the community's role is, again, for our sake, it's just the application, the promotion to employees. Again, just kind of reaching out and seeing what employers are interested in hosting these students. And of course, the financial portion, which is contribution into the payment that goes to these students. I'll talk a little bit about how much they get paid towards the end. And then one other thing is that event planning. We also like to commemorate these students and show them that they do have a community to come back to, and we typically do a graduation per se of the completion of the program. Now, the employers, what they have to do is, of course, one of the things that we ask of the employers is to make sure that they're not giving them, tedious tasks, just answering phones or just filing things. So we want employers that are going to actually put them, in the actual profession. That they're going to be able to learn more, not only about the community, but also about different job opportunities and different skill sets that they'll need in order to enter the workforce once they graduate from college. So this is, of course, we want to make sure that we're vetting these these employers to make sure that they're not just giving them, just random tasks. They also have to be companies that are willing to do mentorships. I've held this program for a number of years in other communities, and usually they create a pretty deep bond between the companies and the students. I've seen it before where a student actually gets hired after they graduate from college, which is essentially what we want to accomplish here. Now, from the students, as I mentioned, they do have a little bit of work to do. It's not just, going into the job and just, completing these tasks. As I've mentioned, they do have to do some interviews with the local leaders. They do have to do research. What I've noticed in the past is that students that leave Corpus Christi typically leave saying like, hey, there's not a job for me in Corpus Christi. There's not enough opportunities. Well, this program kind of makes them go out there and do their research. And very often, I want to say almost 100% of the time, the students come back and say, wow, I didn't know all this stuff was actually available in our community. And as I mentioned, most of this is just to lead them to try to come back after they graduate from college. They do have some coursework required of them. They do have to have a presentation. They do also homework as if it were any typical or regular class. So it is a very rigorous assignment. Not only do they have to show up to work for 9 weeks at full time, which is 40 hours a week, but they also have to do the research of the community, and they also have to do coursework that's entailed in there. And then, of course, the celebration, which, again, at the end of the program, I've seen students that, leave very, very pleased with the program, the opportunities, and the networking that happens throughout this whole process. Now, as I mentioned, there is a financial contribution. Right now, we're not taking any action, but rather, again, just gauging the interest of the board. So each student receives a $5,000 stipend at the end of their 9-week internship. The university is able to provide half of that per student, which is $2,500. So usually what I've seen in the past is that communities range anywhere from 4 to 5 different students that they host. And the ask here today is a contribution of $12,500 to be able to, again, try and recruit, from 4 to 5 different students back into the community. So that is more or less the internship program. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I had one. How long has this program been going?
So the University of Austin created this program, I want to say roughly about 6 years ago. So it's I don't want to call it relatively new, but it is somewhat of a new program. And the reason why I say that is because even though I forgot to mention in this presentation, they try to recruit freshman and sophomore students. So typically there's not any seniors or junior students that are involved in this. So when I say it's fairly new, the benefits of it is barely being noticed now. So
Yeah. Does Texas A&M have one of these?
No, that's a very fair, yeah.
Teasing.
No, that's a really good question. And actually, the goal of this is to kickstart this pilot program with UT Austin, gauge the success of it, and if it's successful, then hopefully recreate it with other popular colleges that students from Corpus Christi leave to. So,
Seems to me for the small amount, it's worth the effort to try.
absolutely.
Are there any questions?
I have a couple. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, you go first.
We fund the 2 internship programs through Del Mar and Texas A&M CC. I want to make sure that this program won't compete with those programs as well.
Absolutely.
And so are the interns that are coming in this program, are they typically outside of the educational programs that are provided at Del Mar or TMUCC? Are they courses that aren't offered there? Are we targeting courses outside of what's, offered in our local colleges?
Well, for this program, they do have to be enrolled in UT Austin, and vice versa as the other 2 programs for the college and the university, they do have to be enrolled students. So it's essentially a mutually exclusive sort of deal where they already have to be students of each.
But are we targeting different, lack of, if we don't have something that's at the 2 colleges here, are we targeting interns for those different industries that maybe we haven't been able to fund internship programs for?
Oh, you mean like with the selection of the different agencies that participate?
Mm-hmm.
Like, can we diversify from the ones that already exist?
The different types of businesses?
We can certainly try that for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, to make sure that we're not essentially using the same companies. I believe that's what you're asking.
I'm trying to make sure that we're not, the students that are at the local colleges that use the internship programs that are funded by us aren't going to compete with interns coming from this program for the same type of internships at the same employers.
Okay, yeah, I totally hear that. Yeah, we can definitely try to diversify the ones that the employers that we use for this program.
Okay.
We do have a list of the ones that are participating with the local internship programs.
And then do we know how much we spend per internship for those 2 programs per student? I mean, we're spending about $2,500 per student here.
Per student, I have to calculate that, but the contract ranges about $140,000 to $150,000 per college on the other ones. I'd have to do the calculations as to how much it averages out per student.
Okay.
But just to kind of give you an idea, the way that the other ones work is that when an employer employs a student, they pay $725, and the existing program supplements that by an additional $725, so essentially doubling their rate of pay. It is a part-time position, the ones that we do have currently standing, so 20 to 30 hours for a semester-based, and kind of gauge the math on that. So, but I would have to go back and actually do the calculations.
Okay. And then last question, has UT Austin given any kind of guidance on, are these paid internships that the companies are offering in addition to the scholarships, or is it typically an unpaid internship that they're looking for? What kind of guidance is on that?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, what UT Austin is looking for is to make sure that the students are not going in there with, your typical just answer the phones and, file any paperwork. UT's commitment to this is to make sure that the students that are going there to essentially try to bring them back to home, right? Bring them back home. So they want meaningful internships. Again, ones where they're, really involved in the community, and just to kind of give a little bit more information, they don't always necessarily get placed in the area of study. I've ran this program for several years before, where I've had a math student actually join a law office, and through that internship, she really enjoyed it. Ended up switching her major. So they're looking for really meaningful internships out of this, with the intent to try to make them, again, I guess in lack of a better terms, fall back in love with Corpus Christi to try to come back after their studies. So.
Okay. I have one more follow-up question. You said that this program's been going on for about 6 years, and it typically targets freshmen and sophomores. Do we have any information on the placement of those internships into full-time positions once upon graduation from UT?
I can definitely get that for you. I don't have it off the top of my head.
Okay. It'd be interesting to know what the success rate of this program is.
100%.
I have a few questions.
Sure.
One, is this an internship for which the student will receive course or college credit?
They used to at the beginning. I'm not sure if that has changed.
Okay.
I'll have to double check on that one.
It would be good to know that.
Absolutely.
And then 2, I would like to know what types of businesses are eligible for this internship?
Essentially any and all.
Well, does that include governmental? Does that include nonprofit? Does that include, like there's a very wide range out there?
Yeah, so in my previous place before here, I also worked for government, and I've had 2 interns before. So government is a fitting agency, yes.
Okay. Is it the city's intent then to hire interns through this program if it is successfully gone through? And if so, I would like to know what the city's plans regarding that might be.
Yeah, my preference is always to put them in the private sector first, just because that gives a little bit more diversity as far as the experience that they can gain. But if if city wishes to have 1 or 2 of these interns be part of the internship, then yeah, we can definitely explore that option too.
Okay, and you would be looking to employers outside those that we're already working with for our previously established programs?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And is there a policy on what, for instance, on GPA? How did the students qualify for this program?
Yeah, I can definitely get more information on that, but there is and this is done through UT Austin. That's their portion, their commitment to this program.
Right, but it would be good to know, for instance, a student who is achieving an average B or higher, we at least know that when they're in school, they're doing the work.
Right, yeah.
And we can at least from there offer businesses some type of assurance that they're not just getting a kid whose parents told them you better find something to do over the summer when you come back home.
For sure. No, that's legitimate. Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely find that out for you, what the requirements are for students.
Okay, thank you. And then you mentioned a party. Who pays for the party?
Well, it's typically held at the government level. A party.
But is that something that would also need to be funded through the type A or B, or is there a different funding source for that?
If that is something that you guys wish to.
I know I don't wish to fund parties, but
Yeah.
I would want to know if a party is a requirement of this program, where that funding is coming from.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it a party just because
It's a party in the
it's
presentation.
Yeah, it's what they do. I've used it for in the past is the final presentation, and what I've had students do is they go up into a stage and they talk about their experience. So that's what I'm saying. Like the term party is a little bit loosely on this one. Again, their experience is to gain skills that they can use out in the world, and public speaking, of course, is a major one for college students. So what I have them do is I have them go up into, again, a room, something like this, where they, just kind of share their experience and share their thoughts on it. So, yes, while it's still a celebration, it's not necessarily just a celebration.
So each student would do a report on the community. Can you dive a little bit more into the nature of that report? And would that be something that we would then have a copy of afterwards? Is there a work product that comes out of this?
Yeah, the presentation I have them do verbally. I don't have them make a written statement. They do have, as I mentioned, coursework that they do have to submit, but that's on the UT side.
Okay.
I can ask if they can share that at the end. But again, a lot of the stuff that is written comes from the interviews that they do with the local leaders. That one, I would have to ask them if they can share that information back to the board.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Are there any other questions? So today we're being asked, are we interested in applying? We don't have an action item for a budget approval, do we?
Correct. No, not at this time. This is just, again, if you guys give us green light, we'll submit the application.
Go ahead.
I said, I don't know if I missed in there. Can we get the number of UT Austin students in those freshman, sophomore ranges that are from this area as part of that?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, that's actually a really,
be,
really good question. Yes.
Yeah, I don't know how many, because I'd be curious to know if there are more opportunities. I mean, I think it's a great program and certainly something that we need to make sure we're out promoting to all employers. I don't know. We have to get there first, but, in terms of working with the chambers and different EDCs, I think it's a great opportunity.
Yeah, the last time I asked that question, and obviously it wasn't related to Corpus Christi, but I asked how many students come out of like Laredo, San Antonio, and all that, and usually it ranges anywhere from 30 to 40 students, and again, about 4 of them get picked. So it kind of goes back to your question about the selection process.
Ms. Huerta, do we need a motion to indicate our interest to move forward?
No, sir, there's no action that can be taken on this item because it's a briefing, but I think Mr. Marquez has registered your interest in it.
Yeah. So is it safe to say we're interested in going forward?
Certainly, although I would love it if you could bring us some of the answers to Ms. Summers and my questions.
Yep,
So the sense of the board is yes.
perfect. Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is presentation and possible action authorizing small business drought resilience program. Who will present on that?
I will.
Oh, you're still up. Okay.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Arturo Marquez, Director of Economic Development. So today what we're going to be talking about is a response to the most recently adopted water restrictions. So on December 16th of last year, the city entered into Stage 3 water restrictions, which essentially means that the combined lake levels have dropped below 20% of capacity. Now, these water restrictions have, of course, affected some businesses that require irrigation, like landscaping, but also other ones, such as mobile car washes, that have also been affected. Now, back in COVID times, there was a partnership done between the city and Lift Fund to address similar issues that were happening, of course, due to COVID. And what we're looking for today is, again, gauging interest from the board to start the conversations with Lift Fund and create a program that would be able to assist businesses that are being negatively affected by these water restrictions. Okay, we have outlined 5, I guess you can call them easy steps of what is going to happen if the board chooses to move forward. We would outline the program that would assist small businesses, again, who are negatively affected or impacted by the water restrictions. We would reach out to businesses. We already have started that process and gain their information about how they're being affected and be able to structure that program better. We would work with Lift Fund to develop a program and apply lessons that we've learned during COVID. Again, there were some things that could be improved from the previous program, and obviously this is not specifically just like COVID, so we would still have to tailor some things that are related to water restriction. We would then come back on February 10th for a special meeting with a presentation with a detailed program about this, this business response. And then, if the board chooses to adopt that budget, we will then take it to City Council the following day, which will be February 11th, for the final budget approval. And if that gets approved, then we will be able to deploy this program soon after. Now, just a quick, kind of update on what the program is. Right now, we're looking at assistance of roughly about $50,000 per business, and our intent is to help more or less about 40 of them, which puts the budget at roughly about $2 million. We, of course, have to consider other administrative costs. Last time there was an administrative cost that was paid to Lift Fund, and we would, of course, have to consider that also this time around. This program, again, once we have that conversation with Lift Fund, we will be able to bring it back to you guys for discussion on the next meeting. And the funding source is that the members would approve the transfer of funding equal to the amount of assistance proposed to the City of Corpus Christi's Street Maintenance Fund for arterial and collector streets that is already scheduled. And then the Type B would would replace the city's general fund transfer to the Street Maintenance Fund, freeing up funding for small business assistance. Okay, just a quick point. The city has had a business relationship with Lift Fund over the last 20 years. And of course, they did manage the COVID response program. Therefore, we know and understand that they do have a capable, professional team that would be able to manage this also. Just to point it out there, we do recommend businesses that are currently being affected, that are not eligible to get any exception, to reach out to us. Again, what we want to do is we want to understand and make sure that we structure this program accordingly as to how businesses are being affected. They can do so by reaching out to us via phone at 361-826-4000, or they can also email William, which I believe he's here, and provide some feedback also from the businesses. Okay. So,
are there any questions?
Ms. Huerta, on February 10th, the proposed meeting date, I'll be out of town. Am I able to participate via Zoom or another method?
Yes, as long as we have a quorum of the board physically present, we can do that for you. We can make that arrangement.
Must have been prior to 6 years ago, but Esteban Ramos, who's been here probably 10 years, it didn't, well, we'll check. We're not aware, we're
Yeah,
not
I just
aware of
wanted to
any.
see if we had any evaluation of that program that could maybe help this one.
Yeah.
And then, you mentioned kind of what we learned during COVID, up to $50,000 per business. Is that for retainment of jobs?
Yeah, so again, this conversation is a very recent one, and
Employees?
correct,
Employees?
correct.
And then you have in here up to 40 businesses. Have we identified that there's about 40 businesses that are struggling under the current restrictions?
So we've identified a couple categories, but again, we want to use this platform to see if we've missed any, which is why, us coming to a public forum, we want to make sure that if there are others that are being affected that we wouldn't necessarily immediately think of that could be affected, that they can reach out to us and we can get that feedback.
Okay, I think getting kind of those categories would be helpful.
Yeah.
And then you had mentioned the administrative costs that would maybe have to be funded separately.
Correct.
I think if we can get kind of a breakdown of what those administrative funds are and what they're for, if Lift Fund's having to bring on someone new to help facilitate this program, what are those additional administrative costs that they're incurring?
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah,
Thank
we'll
you.
include all that, yeah.
Are there other questions?
You mentioned specifically comparing this to programs administered during COVID.
Yes.
I think lessons learned is a really nice way of putting it, as far as some of the administrative and fiscal challenges of appropriately allocating funds where it was needed at that time. Do we have a breakdown, or could we get a breakdown of how this will be different
Yes.
in many ways to prevent some of the previous holes from, or stumbling blocks from happening again? And then also, again, before approving a grant program, it would be a good idea to have an idea of the categories that we're seeking to fund through grants and the administrative costs surrounding that. I'm just going to echo Ms. Summers on that.
Yeah, most definitely. Yes, and we can have that or give that information out when we bring this back.
So my understanding, did you have a question? Excuse me. My understanding is you would finish negotiating the plan, and we would have a special board meeting on the 10th
Correct.
to approve the plan and answer the questions that have been asked. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of I guess not three steps, but there's kind of some things going on all at the same time.
Yeah.
Lift Fund has already been made aware of this, so they're aware that we're bringing this item up. But simultaneously, again, we do want to hear from the businesses themselves. We do
Yeah.
want them to reach out to us.
So we really don't have anything to approve today, just the idea that we want to move forward.
Correct, yes, yeah. No motion for today.
Okay? Everybody okay with that? Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Zanoni, do you have a report?
No president's report today.
Okay, there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned. We'll restart here in about 10 minutes. Thank you, everybody.